Alright, we're going to finish up your week 3 packet, and we're looking at using graphs to describe functions qualitatively. Qualitative usually means with words. Quantitative, there's an N in there, and there's usually numbers that we're dealing with. Qualitative, we're going to use words. So I'm going to do something different on this one. I'm not writing anything. This one is going to be about you telling a story. So I'm going to tell you my version, what kind of goes through my mind, but I want you to come up with your own. Come up with another story, another idea that would describe what's happening on this page. So the first one, we're looking at somebody's steps and their time. So here's a story I'm thinking. Dude's at the park. He's walking along. He decides he's going to run. So he's going to take more steps in a shorter amount of time. He's going to go faster. And then he realizes, oh man, I'm out of breath. So he's going to sit and be still for a while. He's not going to take any steps for a while. And then there's a snake. He sees a snake. So he takes off running. He goes super, super fast for a while. He takes a whole bunch of steps in a short period of time trying to get away from the snake. And then he's out of breath. So he's going to slow down. He turns around and looks, and he's like, oh man, I just need to go on and get out of here. So he keeps on going. That's my story. That's my story of this graph. The biggest part is to know that this is an increase. This is being still or steady. This is a big, fast increase. This is a steady increase. Come up with your own story. What do you see happening here? This graph represents pace. This is the constant, how many steps you're taking in a certain amount of time. So here is Miss Bickford. Miss Bickford's running a 5K. She starts off, she's going a pretty good clip. She's going at a steady pace. And then she realizes, okay, I'm starting to get a little out of breath here. This is a long race, so she slows down, but she keeps going at a steady pace for a while. Still going at a pretty decent pace. She looks behind her and realizes she's in first place. So she slows down a little bit more to catch her breath, but continues that steady pace to finish the race. That's my story. She starts out fast, steady, then there's a slowdown, but never a stop, and a steady pace, another slowdown, and then a steady pace. So the difference between the flat lines on these two, steps, there's no steps taken. This is constant. So that's kind of where you have to know the difference. I want you to come up with your own stories on these two. This one is dealing with sales over in time. Maybe think about a football game and the concession stand. And maybe the first quarter, they sell a whole bunch. The second quarter, most people's got what they want, so they don't make any sales. Everything kind of levels off. It's flat for a while. Then there's halftime. Wham! Sell a lot of stuff really fast at halftime. Then third quarter, kind of levels off. Fourth quarter, everybody's going to buy up the last little bit of something to have a snack on their way home. Your story doesn't have to be the same, but pay attention to how this graph moves. This is none, zero. This is none, zero. No sales. That means no money coming in for that amount of time. This is going up quick, up quick, up quick. This last one is talking about distance and time. Here's an example of a story. I live pretty good ways from school. So I'm driving home and I'm going, pretty decent speed. And there's a wreck on the interstate. Traffic stops. So I'm sitting still on the interstate for a little while. And then I decide I really need some eggs from the store. So I take an exit and I go back into town. So I'm going away from home. I go into the store and stay there for a little while so I'm not moving. And then when I leave the store, I finish and make it home. So again, on this one, no movement, no movement. This one is taking me closer, away from, taking me closer. Number 5 says, for an interval on the graph that shows a change is happening, explain how the shape of the graph on that interval tells you whether the change is happening gradually or quickly. In other words, when you're looking at a graph, how can you tell the difference between something happening quick and kind of a slowdown? So that's your job. I want you to come up with your stories on these graphs. You can write it out to the side. I gave you my examples. Don't use my stories. Come up with your own. You got this. If you have any questions, send me a message on Google Classroom. I love you guys. Hope to see you soon.